Hello and welcome to Analyze That. Today we'll be analysing the 1597 script of the famous play Romeo and Juliet, written by William Shakespeare. In today's video we will explore the character Mercutio, a friend of the main character Romeo, and the implications he had on the plot of the play. We will also explore Mercutio's significant impact on the plot ending, the horrible tragedy that occurred, and the writer William Shakespeare's intended purpose for Mercutio. First, let's start with some background information on this play. It is evidence that there is a massive war that has been ongoing for centuries between two opposing families, the Montagues and the Capulets. The scene we will be analysing today depicts the latest battle surrounding that war between two characters, Mercutio and Tybalt. So let's explore this scene. You're looking at an extract from Act 3, Scene 1. In this scene, Mercutio and Benvolio are walking in the street having a conversation. Mercutio accuses Benvolio of being a hypocrite with his violent behaviour, who is always trying to find an excuse to fight someone. But in fact, it is Mercutio, as revealed later in the scene, that is the violent hypocrite. While Benvolio pleads to Mercutio to stay away from the Capulets to avoid conflict with them, Mercutio replies to Benvolio with,
"Thou art like one of those fellows, that when he comes into the confines of a tavern, he claps me his sword upon the table and says, 'God send me no need of thee,' and by the operation of the next cup of wine, he draws it on the drawer when indeed there is no need."
For those who don't understand fluent Shakespearean, Mercutio basically accuses Benvolio of being short-tempered and always trying to find an excuse to fight someone. He says this with an analogy to a drunken man in a bar that doesn't want to fight when he first enters the bar, but after having the first drink, finds any excuse to fight someone. This is important dialogue as later in this scene, Tybalt enters trying to fight Romeo. Romeo refuses to fight Tybalt. Mercutio, after observing that Romeo refuses to fight him, challenges Tybalt without any reason to fight. This is made worse by the fact that he doesn't belong to either house. After insulting Romeo for being submissive and dishonourable, Mercutio challenges Tybalt in place of Romeo, yelling at him with the line,
"Tybalt, you rat catcher, will you walk?"
There was no instigation from Tybalt or any other character present in this scene. This tells us a lot about Mercutio's character, who I believe in fact is the hypocrite of this story. It is confirmed in this scene that Mercutio indeed had no reason to fight Tybalt when Tybalt asks him.
"What thou have with me?"
Mercutio replies with the line,
"Nothing, good king of cats, but one of your 9 lives."
This shows us that in fact Mercutio is short-tempered, bloodthirsty, violent, hostile, which sets up his character to be very clunky within the storyline. It is commonly believed that Mercutio is not as violent as those such as Tybalt. However, I believe it could be argued that he is worse. The dialogue,
"Nothing, good king of cats, but one of your 9 lives, that I mean to make bold withal, and as you shall use me hereafter, dry beat the rest of the 8.
gives evidence that Shakespeare has set up Mercutio as violent and hostile towards Tybalt, and in my opinion, this statement is born from pure aggression towards Tybalt. The duel with Tybalt could have impacted the ending tragedy for this play and sealed the fate of Romeo and Juliet, as during the duel Romeo attempted to break the fight up between Mercutio and Tybalt by restraining Mercutio from the attacking Tybalt. However, Tybalt slides his sword under Romeo's arm and kills Mercutio. Also in this scene, what I believe to be very important line is said, which is,
"Plague both your houses!"
This is very important for the storyline of the play, as it is what makes characters such as Benvolio, and especially Romeo, realise how the war between the Montagues and the Capulets have really affected people around the violence. Not only those who were involved, but also the innocent citizens of Verona that became casualties of the vicious violence. Even though the prince had placed a rule of no fighting, characters such as Benvolio had not realised the true impacts until Mercutio's death. This impact is shown with Benvolio not fighting for the rest of the play. Another impact of this familial fighting was the death of Romeo and Juliet, as without the feud between the families, they would have the opportunity to live happily ever after. I believe if it wasn't for the fight between Mercutio and Tybalt that added to the already extensive amount of familial fighting between the Montagues and the Capulets, Romeo would not have stricken down Tybalt in emotional vengeance and thus been exiled, which resulted in Friar Lawrence's plan which killed both Romeo and Juliet. If these events didn't occur, Romeo would have been able to live out his life with Juliet and combine the two most powerful houses in all of Verona, ending all remaining familial conflict between them. Another characteristic of Mercutio within this play, which is quite interesting, is that the character leads the plot up until his death. An example of him leading the plot is when he encourages and persuades Romeo and Benvolio to go to the Capulet ball, or his actions before his death, which then made Romeo kill Tybalt, sending the main character into a downward spiral, into a set of misfortunate events resulting in the banishment and eventual death with Juliet. Another factor that William Shakespeare has used the character Mercutio for is the continual comic relief for the audience. This occurs throughout the play in order to keep those, such as the groundlings, interested in the play. Thank you for watching today's video of Analyze That, and remember to like and subscribe for more analysis of comics, movies, and pop culture. See ya!